Hello everyone, it's budget deck time! Today we're going to be jumping back into Historic Brawl with Balmor Battlemage Captain, a 2-mana 1/3 with flying that has the ability to pump all of our creatures for +1/+0 and give them trample until the end of turn whenever we cast an instant or sorcery spell. So since this is a budget deck tech, we are including no rare and no mythic wildcards whatsoever in this first deck. And about halfway through the video, we're going to switch over and I'm going to show you an upgraded version of this deck. One of the main things that we are going to take out of that upgrade is we're going to improve our mana base here, so we'll actually include some of those rare dual lands, giving us better access to our colors, and then there are a couple of other inclusions that are going to be worthwhile to have in the deck. Now, our deck build is very straightforward here. We have a solid mix of creatures and non-creatures, so lots of small creatures, things like Fairy Seer. It's a flyer, slightly evasive, gives us some ETB value, and when we cast our instants and sorceries, it's going to go ahead and pump that, and we're going to be swinging in. We also have a couple of other ways of generating tokens, things like Rawl's Reinforcements, just getting more and more creatures onto the battlefield, so when we do eventually swing out, having cast an instant or two, we're going to be in a very strong position. A couple spells that we can go face with or hit our opponent's creatures with, things like Shock, things like Play with Fire. We also have a couple of pump spells as well, things like Titan's Strength, so we're going to get those prowess triggers off our prowess creatures. We're going to get the Balmor trigger, and when all said and done, we're going to have a very big board to hit our opponent right in the face. Now, if you guys have been enjoying my content so far, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on my latest videos. If you do enjoy this video, make sure you give it a like. Let's go ahead and see how this deck does. Alright, and here we are, game 1, playing up against Nissa. We're going to take the free mulligan since we didn't have the lands that we needed. No access to blue mana in that previous hand, but this looks like a great starting hand, so we're going to go ahead and keep right off the bat. We're going to go blue land, play out our Symmetry Sage. Symmetry Sage is very strong in this deck. We have Magecraft. Target creature has a base power of 3 until the end of turn, so that is going to be really good for us. Opponent's ramping, going to make their way up towards Nissa. I'm just going to play out the Battlemage Captain. This is going to give us more value in the long run. Next turn, I think we'll play out our Elder, since it's a prowess creature, and then we can maybe use Infuriate or something like that to buff one of our creatures and get in. We could also wait, try and get some more value in a future turn, but I think making sure we get our combat damage this turn is going to be very important. We're going to go ahead and swing out. Let's give Balmor the buff, not that it particularly matters. Symmetry Sage, increase the power there. And there we go, 9 damage very quickly. Now, next turn we do have Unleash Fury. This is going to double the power of target creature till the end of turn. So we do have some choices as to what we want to use it on. I'm thinking, just right off the bat, that we're going to want to go for the Symmetry Sage here. But let's start by moving to combat. Let's double the power of Symmetry Sage. We get the Sage trigger first. So we've gone 8, 10, and then 3 here. We'll see if we get any blocks. We do not. Opponent down at 3. I will draw the card. We'll discard the island. And then let's just go ahead and play out our creature. No need for the kicker here. This is also going to have a better prowess effect here on the amplifier. So as long as we can draw into an instant, we should be in a perfect spot for winning the game next turn. No reach. So with Symmetry Sage and the Balmor, that will be lethal. All we have to do is find that instant. Now, keeping in mind, if we do not find it, we still are going to be able to get through 1 damage on the Balmor Captain and put us fairly close. And look at that, we do find an instant. So let's go ahead and move to combat. We're going to swing out, cast this. We're going to pick you and you. Go ahead, buff this, and we've got it. Alright, here we are on the play once again. Let's go ahead and take our mulligan here. And now we're faced with an interesting choice, and that's to mulligan one more time, because we definitely want all of our colors available to us. Let's go keep 6. I'm actually going to bottom the blue land here. Our deck doesn't really need 3 lands to function. I'm going to start with the Phoenix Chick, since we can get some early damage out. Next turn, we can go Goldhound, hold up, Shore Up. We can also play out the Jeskai Elder. That's going to be very strong for us. We are playing into Atali, so we're definitely going to be able to outpace them in the early turns. Right now, our game plan is to prioritize that damage. Alright, opponent starts with a tap land, and we also find another land, which is going to be really good for us. Let's go Jeskai Elder, and go ahead, swing in with the Phoenix Chick once again. Bard class, sure. Now we're gonna go Balmor. Swing out. And we've got it, alright. Alright, on the play, let's go ahead and take a mulligan here. And we'll mulligan once again, find the lands that we need. We can go ahead and keep, and we'll bottom one of our lands. We'll go ahead and start with blue. Playing up against Urza here. Gonna play out the Spellweaver. Okay, opponent's just ramping at this point. Let's go play out another creature. Slowly gonna be preparing for a big swing. Now we are going to be getting a lot of value out of Balmor, if this is able to resolve. Our opponent does have access to 2 mana here, though. We're going to start by swinging out. And we're going to try and resolve our commander. I think we're going to get a counterspell here. We do, it's Wash Away. That's fine. Back in the command zone. So now we do have a couple of different options for our next turn. I think we might want to go Antagonize. See what we draw. Okay. Drawing a red land is very good for us. I'm going to go ahead and use Ryle to draw an additional card. And buff some of our prowess creatures. Alright, now we're going to move to combat. Swing out. Let's see if there are any blocks. There aren't. I'm going to go ahead and use Antagonize here. Get some extra damage out. Alright, we are in a very good spot now. Next turn we have Maximize Velocity and Raking Claws for Double Strike. Could prove very useful. Okay. Nice. Gonna return everything to our hands. Alright, let's go for the Dragonauts here. Yep. Burnished Heart, sure. Copy that, yep, this is fine. Yeah, I was gonna say, they definitely need a blocker for our creature here. Okay, so we're gonna go with See the Guard Approach. We're gonna go ahead and tap the flying creature. Buff here. Let's maximize our velocity. Let's go ahead and give Double Strike. And swing out for lethal. Good game. Alright, and as promised, here is the updated Balmor deck. So once we decide to include some rare cards, first and foremost, we get all of these lands. So now we have a couple of different options for giving us access to those dual-colored lands. Then we can include some better creatures as well, things like Keldon, the Flame Sage here. This is going to give us some extra cast, going to be very strong. We also have Mox Amber now available to us, so that's also going to be a very strong ramp piece for us. We can get this down for free, and that's going to give us the mana we need to cast another spell, get another pump. We can replace things as well, getting like Lightning Bolt and some of our better burn spells out onto the battlefield as well. Aside from that, a lot of the deck is actually going to be very similar to what we had before. We still have those prowess creatures, we still have a whole bunch of ways of dealing damage to our opponent's face, and we're just going to be playing with the same game plan in mind, so there's going to be no shift in our play style. So let's go ahead and see how the upgraded deck ends up doing. Alright, so now we are on to the upgraded deck. This looks like a good starting hand for us, so we're going to go ahead and keep. We're playing into Atraxa Grand Unifier, so our early turns are definitely going to be very important for us. Right off the bat, I think we're going to go ahead and start with a red land, and we're just going to strike it rich. Get our treasure token, do a little bit of early ramping, put us in a good spot. I think next turn we're going to go for the Sprite Dragon. I do like that. There's a chance that our opponent is holding up mana to counter Balmor. So Sprite Dragon is going to be a great way to get around that. Right, and then I'm going to crack the treasure to get the Mistcloaked Herald here. Why are we doing this? Well, because next turn with our land here, we can play out Balmor and use Maximize Velocity to give it haste, give it a buff, and we'll be able to swing out with more creatures, get even more damage next turn. And we're putting a heavy focus on these early turns. Let's start with Balmor. We do get it. So let's Maximize Velocity here. There could be a removal spell, but we'll see. I am curious to see what our opponent has interaction-wise. Okay, that's fine. Block the Sprite Dragon and kill it. We're still getting good damage out, so I'm not too concerned here. Now for next turn, depending, we could do a couple of different things. Can flashback, maximize velocity. Okay, Assassin's Trophy, they're going to kill our commander, that's fine, back in the command zone. We're going to search for a basic land. Do we want another blue land, or do we want another red land? I think we're going to take another blue land, just so we can be a little bit more versatile, put our commander back in the command zone. We find a red land here. Let's go Balmor. We're going to use Maximize Velocity here. Discard that. So this is going to buff our board. We'll have haste, we'll be able to swing in. So here's another 5 damage. We're in a pretty good spot. Next turn we can play our Dragonauts. We have Antagonize as well. Let's see. I think we'll start by moving to combat. Gonna antagonize, targeting the Mistcloaked Herald. Okay. Opponent's gonna channel out a wire, put this back in our hand. And that's fine. Let's go for the Dragonauts here, actually, instead. Next turn, flashback, strike it rich. Sure, we lose some life, but let's flashback, strike it rich. And then move to combat. Swing out. And we've got it. Alright. Alright. On the play, this is a perfectly keepable hand, so we will go ahead and keep this. Turn 1, we have Phoenix Chick, which is going to be really good. then we're going to be making our way towards getting Balmor out on the battlefield, and then eventually getting some additional value out of all of our instants and sorceries. Again, we're playing up against a dinosaur deck. There's going to be a decent amount of ramp that I would imagine we're going to see out of our opponent, so focusing on the early game is definitely going to be the plan. Try and get out damage as quickly as possible. We do have the ability to scry and draw a bunch with the Mentor's Guidance, since we have a Bird Wizard. So, I think what we're going to do is go ahead and cast this as its sorcery. We get the copy. I'm more than happy drawing a Symmetry Sage here. Wizard's Lightning is also going to be really good for us. Let's go ahead, Reckless Charge. We're going to put this on the Phoenix Chick. This is just in case our opponent has a removal spell. We want them to hit the Phoenix Chick and not Balmor. But it seems like we get all of that damage for free. Things are looking pretty good for us. If our opponent plays out a creature next turn, we have Reckless Rage to deal with it. Otherwise, I think we're just planning to go Symmetry Sage, Wizard's Lightning, Face. We'll see, though. We can also flash back the Reckless Charge. Okay, Swords to Plowshares on the Commander. That's fine. Back to the command zone. So here, I'm just going to play another Mountain. We'll replay Balmor. And attack for 1. It's going to be better to have Balmor on the battlefield. And we're still set up to do the same thing. Our opponent's only at 3 lands as well. Okay. So now we have a ton of options. We should be able to hit lethal here, though, if we play our cards right. So let's go Symmetry Sage. Yep. That's 1 damage. Let's then go Lightning, Wizard's Lightning. We'll hit our opponent's face with this. Symmetry Sage is going to buff the Phoenix Chick. Okay. Then we're going to go Reckless Rage. Hit that and Balmor. We're going to boost Balmor's base power with Symmetry Sage. And we're going to move to combat. This is lethal, but we'll go ahead and use our instant anyway. And we've got it. Alright, opponent's going first. We're playing into Jin-Gitaxias. This does look like a hand we can keep, though, so I am going to go ahead and keep that. Right off the bat, going to start with a Mountain, pass the turn. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and play out the Jeskai Elder. Alright, opponent has tapped down here. Let's go ahead play Balmor here. And... oh, sorry, nope. We want to go Satyr's Cunning. That's going to give us our Prowess trigger, going to give us Trample, let us swing in, and that's going to give us a Satyr to attack with next turn. Do we want to draw and discard here? I don't see a reason not to. We can go ahead and get rid of Opt. We won't need the Opt. So now we have some more options for next turn. So opponent plays out Balmor here. Well, a copy of Balmor, which is going to be an interesting blocker for them. I think we just stop them from being able to block here with Renegade Tactics and draw a card. Since they're tapped down, we're going to focus on making this a damage-heavy turn. Let's see. We can go Antagonize here. I kind of like that. We'll go ahead and hit the Jeskai Elder with that. And we'll go for the Sprint. We'll split it up. Prowess again. And swing out. We've got our opponent down to 3 now. Let's draw and discard. Actually, don't think I need this red land. Okay, opponent plays Jin-Gitaxias. And then I think best way to start here is with Seek New Knowledge before we do anything else. Gives us prowess and buffs. Okay. Yep. So both of those are going to be good for us. So let's go ahead and bottom them. Alright, both of these are instant, so let's move to combat, see how blocks happen, and then make sure we have lethal after that. Okay. That doesn't matter what's on top, because we already have lethal there. We can just buff Balmor as well. And we've got it. Okay, everyone, so Balmor is one of my favorite budget decks for Historic Brawl. Not only is the budget deck incredibly close to the upgraded deck, meaning there's not that big of a gap in playstyle when you're playing that budget version, it's actually super easy to upgrade just because the biggest thing that you're going to want to change about this deck is the land base, and those lands actually have a lot of value in your collection as well as you're looking to build other decks as well. Now, that being said, this is a very powerful aggro deck. We do struggle in the late game against decks that can stabilize against us. If someone removes Balmor 2 or 3 times, we might have some difficulty getting in for lethal. But, like any aggro deck, all of our prowess creatures are going to be threats for our opponent. And anybody with a ramp-based strategy where they need more than 3 turns to start getting up into the threats that they're looking to cast isn't going to be able to stabilize against us, as we can get those wins incredibly quickly. Now, if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you give it a like, and if you have any ideas for another deck you'd like to see me play, why don't you let me know in a comment down below. I'll see you all next time.